The Fox News alert now, and Republicans are once again pushing for a second special counsel. New York Congressman Lee Zeldin introducing a new resolution alleging misconduct at the Justice Department and the FBI in both the Hillary Clinton email investigation and the Russia investigation. Listen.
These are historic, legendary agencies that require transparency and accountability regarding the misconduct that took place. In just the past few days, we learned that the DOJ, FBI, or both, appeared to have planted at least one person into Donald Trump's presidential campaign to infiltrate and surveil the campaign. This action alone reminds us of just how necessary this resolution is, as well as the appointment of a second special counsel.
Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs joins me now. He is a member of the House Judiciary Committee and Freedom Caucus. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Good to be with you, Julie.
Okay, so the question Republicans want answered here is, what did former President Obama know in regard to misconduct by those under him with regard to spying on then-candidate Trump's campaign and any abuse of power by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton? Now, you say the only way to get answers is to appoint a second special counsel. Tell us why.
Well, because the improprieties seem to be emanating from the DOJ, from the FBI, and actually from the previous administration. Well, we can't then rely on them to investigate themselves, so we need to get a special counsel outside of them to get in there and investigate. Inspector General's been doing yeoman's work, but I think he and his agency are overburdened right now, and we need to go to the second counsel.
All right. Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin and nearly a dozen of his conservative House colleagues are basing these accusations on the new reports of a confidential intelligence source used by the FBI, who apparently spoke with Trump campaign advisors in 2006. Better known as evidence, as some of us would call that, as he pointed out in a press conference yesterday. Let's listen to that real quick.
While many in the media and American public have been trying to bring down the president without evidence that President Trump colluded with Russia to win the election, there is a ton of actual evidence of real misconduct that those same people have been attempting to completely sweep under the rug.
I want you to talk about the political motivation behind all of this and how an abuse of power in this case could actually mean criminal charges.
Well, what's happening is if you look back, Hillary Clinton received favorable treatment in the investigations up here. We believe because of political reasons. That's what the I'm going to call email memorandum from Strzok to Page and some of the others that were in there. And now you look at the reverse, where they're going after President Trump. They're not going after crimes. They're not alleging that there were any crimes done. Collusion itself is not a crime. Conspiracy is, but not collusion. There's no such thing there. But we're seeing this reverse footage here, where they're just going through everything, trying to squeeze everybody, because they're investigating a person, not investigating a crime. And that's an abuse of power. And if that's the case, then they themselves have committed crimes.
Absolutely. And again, I want to go over that again. As you just mentioned, collusion, not a crime. Obstruction of justice is.
Right. That's
Who
right.
amongst the Department of Justice and the FBI, there must be more than one, has committed obstruction of justice? And who is policing them? Like you mentioned, they cannot investigate themselves.
Well, ostensibly, the Inspector General's investigating, but he can't bring charges. That has to go outside, which is why you need a special counsel. But I mean, you look at somebody like an Andrew McCabe, who was fired, and after all of the investigation from the Inspector General, it turns out he was lying and manipulating things. You've got Peter Strzok, who's still on the payroll, and he was apparently involved in this. So you look at Mueller's investigative team in and of itself. This is a bunch of people who are partisan in nature. They're obviously biased, and these people themselves may be obstructing justice through the abuse of their power.
You call this the scandal of our time, perhaps of our lifetime.
Yeah.
When you talk about the former administration and President Obama and his comments in the past that he doesn't know necessarily what everyone is doing under him, you know, former subordinates to him would argue otherwise, and in fact that President Obama was to be informed on all things going on. So it seems that there's a difference in who you ask. Where does this investigation go? How do you get the former president involved, or do you?
Well, I think the link between President Obama and the misconduct we've seen lies straight with the subordinates who are writing emails. I think it's September 2nd, 2016 email, which specifically said POTUS wants to be informed on everything we're doing here. Well, if that's the case, then they're informing him of embedding of undercover operatives into the Trump campaign. They're talking about a Steele dossier. They're talking about FISA warrants being issued ostensibly based on a fraudulent dossier to spy on American citizens. That would mean that the president knew about this, and that expands this to an enormous scandal. We're talking probably the biggest in American history.
All right, Congressman Andy Biggs, thank you very much. Great to talk to you.
Good to talk to you, Julie.